The town halls are called Giving Parents a Voice town halls, and that's truly what we're doing. We're putting the microphone into the hands of parents. So last night we had a parent panel, we had a policy panel, we took questions from the audience, and in Montgomery County you're seeing a true violation of parental rights in so many different levels.
Yeah, we love bringing the community together for these important discussions that need to happen on issues that are facing each community, and we do them all over the country because their issues are different everywhere.
So what are the issues? You mentioned something very serious in Montgomery County, for example. What's the issue there?
Yeah, absolutely. So they're really the first county that's tried to mandate masks back on children, that 10-day mask mandate. But I'm really proud to say that parents fought back and the district had to make the masks optional. So that's a big win for parents. Their voices matter and they're seeing that. There's another issue, though, happening in Montgomery County. Secrets being kept from parents about children's gender identity. Private conversations happening between children and adults in schools without the consent or knowledge of parents, leading them down a very dangerous path as far as gender transition is concerned. And then gender ideology and sexual orientation being taught in the classroom. And so this isn't a book in the library that a child might happen upon, but a rainbow storybook collection where gender ideology is being introduced to children as young as 5 in books like Pride Puppy, where the children are asked to search for terms like leather, drag queen, underwear. 5 years old, I don't think a lot of moms are really looking for their children to learn about drag queens.
And why is that problematic? I mean, I probably don't need to ask this question, but why don't you lay it out for me?
Why is that problematic?
Yeah, that these things
What's interesting is it's not just problematic for a certain segment of society. What we're finding with these issues is this crosses religion, it crosses race. Like last night at the town hall, we had the Jewish population represented, the Ethiopian local population represented, the Muslim population, the Christian population represented, all speaking out in one voice against what's happening here. Because once a parent loses their right to direct the upbringing of their children, once the government or the school in this instant is keeping secrets from parents and deceiving parents with some of these policies, you've lost your family.
And how is this kind of sexual, let's call it sexualization or early
Absolutely.
exposure to sexual ideas, sexual issues, how does that contribute to that process?
The least interesting thing about an elementary school student should be their sexual orientation. And my child doesn't need a sexual spirit guide at school. Parents send their children to school to learn to read, to write, to do math. There are amazing books that you can put in the hands of a child, and Pride Puppy isn't one of them.
So I understand actually the whole masking issues back in the early days or before Moms for Liberty began. You guys started to kind of notice each other's work on school boards through the masking issue. So, and actually since the masking issue is coming, why don't we just discuss what are the realities that parents should know right now about masks for children, and then we'll jump into a little bit of history. Yeah.
Masks for children not only harm children, it's nonsense. And anybody instinctively knew that, even in 2020 and 2021, where school districts were passing policies forcing masks on children. We had parents coming to our school board meetings one after another. My child is deaf, is not going to be able to communicate. It's not going to be able to communicate if the teacher has a mask. At one of my school board meetings, I pulled out a plethora of complaints that had come to me. Children that had MRSA on their face from having to wear masks. Children that had dental, or their gums were already starting to be infected from having the bacteria closed in on their mouths. I mean, issue after issue after issue. And school districts did not care. On top of, they just don't work. They were wearing cloth masks. There were no rules in place of what type of mask it had to be. It was just put something over your mouth. We don't care the quality, we don't care the grade, we don't care if it's causing harm. The whole issue was nonsense.
Well, and just, I was thinking about this. In some cases they did actually, I recall, they were talking about putting N95 respirators on young children.
I think one of the things that was most concerning as well was the fact that we were telling children who maybe have compromised immune systems, or teachers that had compromised immune systems, that the masks would somehow protect them. And in schools, it's really important to take steps to make accommodations for students who have special needs. And so this idea that we were forcing something on that wasn't source control, wasn't going to stop transmission, and yet we were saying this is going to protect you, was a lie. And the last thing that I ever wanted to do as a school board member was lie to parents. I always want parents to have accurate information so they can make the best choice for their own child. And so as a school board member, I felt that it was really unethical to provide this as a solution to something where it wasn't really helping the student in any way.
Actually, we have Anthony Fauci on record talking about how the utility of masks prior to the policy suddenly changing.
Yeah, my facts don't care about your feelings. Feeling safe, this idea of, people will feel safe if you wear a mask, it was a lie. And it really wasn't what was best for kids. And we saw that, and we have evidence of that. I mean, it's the speech delays. My own son had a speech issue, and the idea that he was getting speech therapy in school and he was wearing a mask and the teacher was wearing a mask was just absolutely preposterous. And so you have the American Academy of Pediatrics coming out telling moms and dads that babies don't need to see your face. Any mom who has had a child, who has a baby, knows that your baby needs to see you. When you smile, your baby smiles. And so, this lack of trust in American medical institutions and the school districts and the CDC and our government, it really has had a horrible effect. And I think it's left a lot of parents wondering, who do I listen to? And what parents have come to understand, I think, is that they are the best expert for their own child. And that's something that we really work to empower moms and dads in America to know and understand.
A lot of these decisions and policies that were being made from the federal government down to local school boards, we saw that. We were in 12 and 14-hour school board meetings where we were discussing and debating what policies to put in place around COVID. We're all based in fear. Yeah. It was never a good policy to create a policy on fear. Never. We shouldn't run this country on fear. We shouldn't make decisions on fear. You shouldn't run your family on fear.
A spirit of fear took over in America, and we saw that very clearly when we were on school board.
Well, and we know now that there was, essentially a global campaign to foster that fear. Let's go back a little bit. Let's go back into history. I mean, tell me a little, Tina, about your background, how you got into this. I mean, you didn't start off in sort of so-called conservative circles.
No, I started as a mom, like all of our moms. I was a volunteer in my children's elementary school. I volunteered 10,000 hours in my children's elementary school, volunteer of the year, PTO president, just your average mom doing all I could to improve their education and be involved in their school.
I'll just jump in. Average, highly motivated mom. Those are lots of hours.
Yeah, just a lot of hours.
Just a comment. But please continue.
Well, let's put it this way. I have worked since I was 15 years old. And after I gave birth to my now 15-year-old, I found that I wanted to be home more. And so I started working part-time from home and doing some consulting. But it left me with this hole that I wanted to, I wanted to give my time. I still had this time and this energy. And so there's so many needs in the public school system. And so, of course, I'm going to give it to where my children are. Why would you not? What happened during that period is you get to see what's happening in the public school system, and you see all the problems. And by nature, I'm someone that wants to solve and fix problems. And so as a problem came, I would work through the school to fix it. As the problems became bigger, I would head to the district to try to fix it. And so, I like to tell the story of when my now 22-year-old was in 7th grade. He brought home an assignment that he got 100% on, and his teacher said, "Great job." And of course, I'm so proud of you. I opened it up, and it was a wanted poster for Christopher Columbus. It said, "Wanted, Christopher Columbus, crimes against humanity." And that entered me into a whole new phase of my life, because I thought, what is this and how could this be 100%? And so I spent, the next 6 months probably digging deep and researching, reading everything I could on Christopher Columbus. Was I deceived in my education? Where is the truth here? And so, after Christopher Columbus, there was just one assignment after another coming home. And so, my eyes were opened. And once your eyes are opened, you can't go back.
And what year was this roughly?
Maybe 2014, 2015, because it was probably within a year or two that I decided to run for school board.
And then, now let's bring us up to the, pandemic time, because that's when a lot changed, right?
Our school board got along really well. We had a Democrat on the board, an independent, several Republicans, but everybody really worked together, I felt like, in most of my term for the betterment of our community. Everybody loved where we lived. When COVID happened, that just went away. One of the things in the school district is everybody always tried to serve or protect the most underserved children, the ones with the IEPs, the ones that had special needs. When COVID happened, nobody seemed to care. It was so bizarre to watch my colleagues that I really had a lot of respect for just ignore parents that were coming in tears. The mom that came in talking about the deaf child and how is she going to communicate? I need to be able to do something else for my child than have her masked and her teacher masked if she's going to have an education. And the board didn't want to allow that. No exceptions.
Don't forget to subscribe to our Alerts newsletter, and you'll never miss an episode.